The wind rolled across the dry prairie like a restless spirit as the sun dipped low behind the mesa, turning the sky into streaks of burning orange and deep red. Out there, far from the old cattle road and even farther from the nearest homestead, a lone rancher named Colt McAllister reined in his horse at the top of a dusty ridge. He'd been riding out searching for a missing calf, but when he turned his head toward a clearing, he noticed something that made him stop cold. A young woman kneeling beside a pile of broken, splintered boards, working by herself with nothing but a hammer so worn it hardly held a nail. Her hair was tied back with a strip of leather. Her clothes were dusty, patched, and sun-faded, and yet she worked with a determination that pulled his gaze like a magnet. She wasn't just building something. She was fighting time, exhaustion, and the weight of whatever had brought her out here alone. Colt watched her lift a board only for it to snap in her hands, sending her dropping to her knees in frustration. She stayed there, shoulders trembling, fingers digging into the dirt as if she was holding back tears. Colt wasn't the type to interfere in someone's business, but there was something different about this moment, something he couldn't ride away from even if he tried. He nudged his horse gently downhill, keeping quiet so he wouldn't startle her. As he got closer, he saw the outline of what she was trying to build, a shelter, or at least the beginnings of one. A crooked frame stood leaning to one side, barely held together by rusted nails. The boards were salvage scraps, pieces someone else had thrown away. Every strike of her hammer rang out like a cry for help. Colt finally cleared his throat softly, and the girl spun around with eyes full of shock, fear, and then guarded pride. "I ain't needin' charity," she said before he even spoke, brushing dirt from her hands. Colt lifted his hat respectfully. "Reckon I didn't say you did," he replied. "Just noticed you're workin' with boards that wouldn't hold up a chicken coop, let alone a shelter." She crossed her arms, her jaw tightening. "It's all I've got." Colt studied her a moment. She was young, maybe 19, and thin, like someone who'd been skipping meals far too often. But her eyes were fierce, stubborn, alive. "Name's Colt," he said gently. She hesitated. "Ilara," she finally replied. "This land belonged to my folks. After the fire, well, I'm rebuilding what I can." That was all she said, but in her voice, Colt heard the weight of everything she'd been through. Loss, pain, and a determination to survive no matter what. He scanned the mess around her again. This wasn't a shelter that would keep out rain, much less a storm. He knew she needed real lumber, strong boards, steady beams, nails that didn't rust through at the touch. He looked back at her hands, scratched, bruised, bleeding. She was hurting herself more than helping. "You keep at it with those scraps," Colt said softly, "and you'll hurt more than your hands." Ilara lifted her chin defiantly. "I'll manage. I always do." Colt gave a slow nod, though inside he felt something twist, an urge to help that he couldn't quite ignore. "I'll be back," he said simply. Before she could protest or ask why, he turned his horse and rode off down the ridge, dust trailing behind him. Ilara stared after him, confused, unsure, but something inside her whispered that maybe, just maybe, this time she wasn't as alone as she thought. As Colt rode toward his ranch, he wasn't thinking about cattle or chores anymore. He was thinking about a girl kneeling in the dirt, trying to build a future out of broken pieces. And he knew without question he wasn't done with her story yet. And if you're listening to this tale and want more stories of grit, courage, and heart from the Old West, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss the next ride. Cactus Chapter 2. He rode back with lumber. The morning sun rose sharp and golden over the plains when Ilara awoke to the creak of wagon wheels crunching over dry earth. She sat up fast, hair falling loose over her shoulders, eyes widening as a horse-drawn wagon rolled into the clearing. Colt McAllister sat on the driver's bench, reins in one hand and a calm determination on his face. But it wasn't Colt that made Elara gasp. It was what filled the wagon behind him. Stacks of fresh, cut lumber, straight and strong, a full box of nails, proper tools, even a sheet of tin for a roof. Everything she needed, everything she'd never dreamed she could afford. Elara stumbled to her feet, shaking her head. "No, Colt, I can't take that. I told you I don't need—" "Elara," he interrupted softly but firmly, stepping down from the wagon. "You're building your home, not askin' for charity. Just tack in a hand when the trail gets rough." She opened her mouth to argue, but nothing came out. Her throat closed as emotion rushed through her, something between disbelief and gratitude burning behind her eyes. Colt didn't push her. He simply picked up the first board and carried it to her shaky frame of a shelter. "Let's start by buildin' something that'll stand," he said. The hours that followed were unlike anything Elara had felt in months. Colt worked beside her, teaching her how to steady a beam, how to drive a nail straight, how to square the frame so it wouldn't collapse in a strong wind. His voice was steady, patient, warm. She had forgotten what it felt like to be treated gently. With every board they lifted, with every beam they set in place, it felt like they were raising more than just walls. They were raising hope, brick by invisible brick. And Colt, he couldn't help but admire her strength. She worked through blisters, through heat, through aching exhaustion, but she never stopped. "Not once. You're tougher than most men I know," he said at one point with a grin. Elara blinked at him, a surprised laugh escaping her. "You don't have to lie to make me feel better." "Ain't lyin'," Colt replied, sliding another beam into place. "Just callin' things like I see 'em." As the walls rose higher, something eased in Elara's shoulders, a burden lifting, if only a little. She hadn't realized how heavy loneliness had become until someone showed up who didn't leave. Near sunset, the shelter, no longer patched together with scraps, but standing strong, cast a long shadow across the clearing. Elara stepped back, staring at what they'd built. It wasn't finished yet, but it had a doorway, solid walls, a roof line that promised protection. For the first time since the fire, she felt something bloom inside her, something warm, something like belonging. "Colt," she whispered, voice trembling, "I don't know how to thank you." He rested his gloved hand lightly on the frame. "Just build your life back, Elara. That's thanks enough." Her eyes met his, and in that quiet moment the world felt still. Just the two of them, the shelter, and the soft glow of dusk. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was something honest, something real, something she could build on. Colt gathered his tools, preparing to leave. But before he climbed onto his horse, Elara stepped closer. "Will you come back?" she asked, not hiding the hope in her voice. He smiled, tipping his hat. "Reckon you ain't finished buildin' yet." She laughed softly, and for the first time in a long time, it wasn't forced or bitter. As Colt rode off into the evening, she stood at the doorway of her new shelter, hand on the fresh wood, heart beating steady. She wasn't alone anymore, not in rebuilding, not in surviving, not in the world. And if you want more powerful Western stories like this, stories of courage, kindness, and unexpected bonds, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep these tales alive.